In the vast, unforgiving expanse of Utah's Canyonlands National Park, a routine solo hiking trip transformed into a harrowing tale of survival that would captivate the world. This is the extraordinary story of Aron Ralston, a young adventurer whose resilience and will to live were tested beyond imagination during 127 hours of isolation, pain, and unwavering hope. On the morning of April 26, 2003, 27-year-old Aron Ralston set out for what he thought would be a day of adventure in the remote Blue John Canyon. An experienced outdoorsman and avid rock climber, Aron was no stranger to the rugged terrain of the American Southwest. He had conquered numerous peaks and canyons, always pushing himself to new limits. This day, however, would push him further than he ever imagined possible. As the sun rose over the red rock landscape, Aron packed his backpack with what he considered essential for a day hike: 2 burritos, less than a liter of water, a small first aid kit, a cheap multi-tool, and his trusty video camera. In a fateful decision that would later haunt him, he chose not to tell anyone about his planned route or expected return time. This solo journey into the wilderness was meant to be just another thrilling adventure in Aron's book of outdoor exploits. The early hours of Aron's hike were filled with the kind of exhilaration that only nature can provide. He reveled in the solitude, the crisp morning air, and the breathtaking beauty of the canyon's towering walls. As he navigated the narrow passages and rappelled down rock faces, Aron felt truly alive, connected to the raw power of the natural world around him. Little did he know that in mere hours, this same environment would become his prison, and his connection to it would be tested in ways he never thought possible. At approximately 2:45 in the afternoon, Aron entered a narrow slot canyon, squeezing between its tight walls with practiced ease. As he descended, he encountered a chockstone, a boulder wedged between the canyon walls. It was a common obstacle in slot canyons, one that Aron had dealt with countless times before. He began to climb over it, placing his weight on what he thought was a stable surface. In an instant, everything changed. The boulder shifted, and Aron felt a sickening lurch as the massive rock, weighing an estimated 800 pounds, broke free from its precarious perch. In a split second of terror, Aron fell with the boulder, tumbling down the narrow chasm. When the dust settled, Aron found himself in a nightmarish situation. His right hand and forearm were pinned against the canyon wall by the immense weight of the fallen boulder. The initial shock gave way to disbelief as Aron assessed the situation. He was trapped, his dominant arm crushed between an immovable object and the unyielding canyon wall. Pain radiated through his arm, but adrenaline kept the full force of it at bay. In those first moments, Aron's mind raced through possible solutions, fueled by the certainty that he could free himself if he just thought it through logically. He tried pushing against the boulder with his free hand, straining with all his might, but it didn't budge an inch. He attempted to gain leverage by bracing his feet against the opposite wall, but the awkward angle and limited space made it impossible to generate enough force. As the reality of his predicament began to sink in, Aron's thoughts turned to his meager supplies and the daunting fact that no one knew where he was. As the afternoon wore on, Aron cycled through various attempts to free himself. He chipped away at the boulder with his multi-tool, but the rock was too hard, the blade too dull to make any significant progress. He tried to rig a pulley system with his climbing rope, hoping to use mechanical advantage to lift the boulder, but the confined space made it impossible to set up effectively. With each failed attempt, the gravity of his situation became clearer. The pain in his trapped arm intensified as the hours passed, a constant reminder of the precarious position he was in. As the sun began to set, casting long shadows in the canyon, Aron faced the chilling realization that he would have to spend the night there, alone and immobile. The first night was a brutal introduction to what lay ahead. As darkness fell, the temperature in the canyon plummeted. Aron, dressed only in a t-shirt and shorts, began to shiver uncontrollably. He couldn't reach his backpack to retrieve his fleece jacket, leaving him exposed to the biting cold. Sleep came in fitful bursts, interrupted by pain, cold, and the psychological torment of a situation. During those long, dark hours, Aron's mind raced through scenarios of rescue and escape. He thought about his family, his friends, and the life he might never return to. He realized, with a growing sense of dread, that his decision not to leave a detailed trip plan might have sealed his fate. No one would know where to look for him, and the vastness of the canyon country made the odds of an accidental discovery slim to none. As dawn broke on Sunday, Aron's second day of entrapment, he was exhausted but determined. The new day brought renewed hope and a chance to reassess the situation. He took stock of his supplies, about 3/4 of a liter of water, 2 burritos, and a few small candies. He knew he would have to ration these carefully if he had any hope of surviving long enough for rescue. Aron's analytical mind kicked into high gear. He began to document his ordeal using his video camera, partly as a diary and partly as a farewell message to his loved ones. Speaking to the camera provided a sense of companionship in his isolation and helped him maintain his sanity as the hours ticked by. Throughout that second day, Aron continued his efforts to free himself. He used his multi-tool to chip away at the boulder and the surrounding rock face, but progress was painstakingly slow. The exertion left him sweating, depleting his precious water reserves even faster. By midday, he had to face the harsh reality that brute force alone would not be enough to liberate him. As the second night approached, Aron began to experience the first signs of serious dehydration. His mouth was parched, his lips cracked, and a persistent headache set in. The night brought another round of bone-chilling cold, made worse by his weakened state. Aron tried to distract himself by reciting poems and songs, anything to keep his mind off the pain and the growing fear that he might die in this remote canyon. As Monday dawned, marking the third day of Aron's unimaginable ordeal, the full weight of his situation bore down upon him with crushing force. The once adventurous spirit that had led him into Blue John Canyon was now engaged in a primal struggle for survival. Every breath, every moment, was a battle against despair, pain, and the ever-present specter of death. The morning light filtering into the narrow slot canyon brought little comfort to Aron. His body, deprived of food for over 48 hours, had begun to consume itself. The gnawing ache of hunger had become a constant companion, rivaling even the pain in his trapped arm for attention. But it was thirst that truly tormented him. His water supply, carefully rationed over the past 2 days, was now alarmingly low. Aron's throat felt like sandpaper, his lips cracked and bleeding. He allowed himself only the tiniest sips of water, each one a cruel reminder of how little remained. He knew that dehydration was now his most immediate threat. The human body can survive weeks without food, but only days without water. And in the arid desert environment, with the sun beating down mercilessly, that timeline was significantly shortened. As the morning wore on, Aron's mind began to play tricks on him. The lack of food, water, and sleep, combined with the constant pain and stress, led to the first of many hallucinations. He saw water cascading down the canyon walls, heard the voices of friends calling out to him. Each time, the crushing disappointment when he realized these were merely figments of his imagination threatened to break his spirit. Yet, even in these darkest moments, Aron clung to hope. He continued to record videos on his camera, speaking to his family and friends as if they were right there with him. These one-sided conversations became a lifeline, a way to maintain his sanity in the face of overwhelming isolation. "Mom, Dad," he spoke into the camera, his voice hoarse and barely above a whisper. "I don't know if I'm going to make it out of here. I want you to know I love you. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for not telling you where I was going. If I had, maybe..." His voice trailed off, choked with emotion. As the sun reached its zenith, the temperature in the canyon soared. Aron, trapped in direct sunlight, felt as if he were being cooked alive. Sweat poured down his face, further depleting his already dangerously low fluid levels. He tried to create shade by draping his t-shirt over his head, but the relief was minimal. In these moments of extreme discomfort, Aron's mind wandered to thoughts of rescue. He imagined helicopters flying overhead, search parties combing the canyon. But the rational part of his brain reminded him of the harsh reality. No one knew where he was. The vastness of the canyonlands meant that even if a search was underway, the chances of anyone finding him in a specific location were astronomically low. As afternoon faded into evening, Aron faced another night of bone-chilling cold. The extreme temperature fluctuations of the desert were taking their toll on his battered body. He shivered uncontrollably, his teeth chattering so hard he feared they might crack. Sleep came in short, fitful bursts, interrupted by pain, cold, and vivid, often terrifying dreams. Tuesday, the fourth day of captivity, brought with it a new and horrifying development. As Aron awoke from another restless night, he became aware of a sickening smell permeating the narrow confines of the canyon. With dawning horror, he realized the source. His trapped arm, deprived of circulation for days, had begun to decompose. The stench of rotting flesh was overpowering, a constant reminder of his mortality. Aron gagged, fighting the urge to vomit. He couldn't afford to lose what little fluid remained in his system. The smell seemed to seep into every pore, impossible to escape in the confined space. As revolting as the odor was, it forced Aron to confront a reality he had been avoiding. His arm was dying. The pain had largely subsided, replaced by an eerie numbness that was somehow even more terrifying. He knew enough about field medicine to recognize the signs of necrosis setting in. It was on this day that Aron began to seriously contemplate the unthinkable, the possibility of amputating his own arm. The idea had flitted through his mind earlier, but he had dismissed it as too extreme. Now, faced with the reality of his dying limb and his dwindling chances of survival, it began to seem like the only viable option. Aron spent hours wrestling with this decision. He thought about the quality of life he might have with only one arm, weighed against the very real possibility of death if he remained trapped. He considered the technical challenges of performing such a drastic procedure with only a dull multi-tool at his disposal. The mental anguish of these deliberations was almost as intense as the physical pain he had endured. As he pondered this life-altering decision, Aron's mind drifted to memories of his past adventures. He recalled the feeling of standing atop mountain peaks, the rush of skiing down pristine slopes, the joy of navigating whitewater rapids. Would he ever experience these thrills again? Or would this canyon become his final resting place? His body forever entombed by the very nature he loved so deeply? These reflections were interrupted by another wave of hallucinations. This time, Aron saw himself at a party, surrounded by friends and family. He could almost feel the warmth of their embraces, hear the sound of their laughter. But as he reached out to touch them, his hand met only the cold, unyielding surface of the canyon wall. The contrast between this vision of warmth and connection and his current reality of isolation and despair was almost too much to bear. As Tuesday wore on, Aron's physical condition deteriorated rapidly. His urine, when he was able to produce any, had turned a dark brown, a clear sign of severe dehydration and potential kidney failure. His lips were so cracked that they bled at the slightest movement. His tongue felt swollen, too large for his mouth, making even the simple act of swallowing painful. In a desperate attempt to stave off dehydration, Aron resorted to drinking his own urine. The taste was revolting, and he knew that it would only buy him a little time, as the liquid was more concentrated than what his kidneys could process. But in his current state, even a few more hours of life seemed worth any sacrifice. As night fell once again, Aron faced what he was almost certain would be his final hours. He used his camera to record what he believed would be his last messages to his loved ones. His voice, once strong and full of life, was now barely audible, each word a monumental effort. "Mom, Dad, Sonia," he whispered, naming his sister, "I love you guys. I want you to know I did everything I could to survive. I'm sorry for putting you through this. Please don't blame yourselves. Live your lives to the fullest. That's what I tried to do." As he finished recording, Aron fell into a delirious half-sleep. His dreams were vivid and strange, blurring the lines between reality and fantasy. He saw himself from above, as if floating out of his body, looking down at his trapped form. He dreamed of water, endless streams of cool, clear water that always remained just out of reach. Wednesday dawned, the 5th day of Aron's imprisonment. He awoke to find his situation even more dire than before. The decomposition of his trapped arm had accelerated. The smell now so potent it seemed to have a physical presence in the narrow canyon. Aron's body, pushed far beyond its limits, teetered on the edge of complete shutdown. In his more lucid moments, Aron continued to contemplate the idea of self-amputation. He examined his multi-tool, assessing its dull blade with a mixture of hope and dread. He knew that if he was going to act, it would have to be soon. His window of opportunity was rapidly closing. As he pondered this drastic step, Aron's mind wandered to thoughts of his future. He imagined the life he might lead if he survived this ordeal. Would he still be able to pursue his passion for outdoor adventures with only one arm? How would this experience change him, not just physically, but emotionally and spiritually? These thoughts were interrupted by another vivid hallucination. This time, Aron saw a small boy playing in the canyon. The child looked at him with familiar eyes, and with a jolt, Aron realized he was looking at his future son. This vision, born from the depths of his subconscious, sparked something in Aron. It kindled a fierce determination to survive, to live to see that future become a reality. As Wednesday stretched into Thursday, Aron drifted in and out of consciousness. His body, starved of food and water for days, began to shut down non-essential functions. His mind, however, continued to work, processing the profound experience he was undergoing. In his periods of awareness, Aron reflected on his life, on the choices that had led him to this point. He thought about the risks he had taken, the thrills he had sought. He didn't regret his adventurous spirit, but he wished he had been more careful, more considerate of those who cared about him. These reflections were punctuated by increasingly frequent periods of delirium. Aron's hallucinations became more vivid and bizarre. He saw the canyon walls come to life, undulating like waves in an ocean of stone. He heard music, beautiful and haunting, echoing through the narrow passage. At times, he wasn't sure if he was alive or dead, if this was reality or some strange afterlife. As Thursday morning dawned, bringing with it the 6th day of his ordeal, Aron made the decision that would define the rest of his life. With a clarity that cut through his delirium, he realized that his only chance of survival lay in freeing himself from the boulder, no matter the cost. The arm that had been his companion in countless climbing adventures, the hand that had helped him scale mountains and navigate treacherous terrain, would have to be sacrificed if he was to live. Aron began the gruesome process of amputating his own arm with grim determination. Using the dull blade of his multi-tool, he started to cut through the soft tissue of his forearm. The pain was excruciating, but Aron pressed on, driven by an overpowering will to survive. He worked slowly, methodically, taking breaks when the pain became too intense to bear. The process was agonizing and time-consuming. The multi-tool's blade was far from ideal for such a task, and Aron had to stop frequently to rest and gather his strength. As he cut deeper, he encountered the problem of severing the 2 bones in his forearm. The tool was not strong enough to cut through bone, and Aron realized he would have to break them to complete the amputation. In a moment that would later be etched in the annals of survival stories, Aron leveraged his body weight against his trapped arm. With a sickening crack, he broke the radius and ulna bones. The sound echoed through the canyon, a stark testimony to the extremes of human endurance. With the bones broken, Aron was able to complete the amputation, using his makeshift tourniquet to stem the blood flow. After 127 hours of entrapment, Aron was finally free. But his ordeal was far from over. Weak from dehydration, blood loss, and the immense physical and emotional toll of his experience, Aron still had to find his way out of the canyon and to safety. Gathering what little strength he had left, Aron began the arduous journey out of Blue John Canyon. He rappelled down a 65-foot cliff one-handed, an incredible feat given his condition. Then, he started the grueling 8-mile hike back to his vehicle. Every step was a battle against exhaustion and the ever-present threat of losing consciousness. As Aron stumbled through the canyon, delirious from pain and dehydration, fate finally smiled upon him. He encountered a family hiking in the area, the first people he had seen in nearly 6 days. They immediately recognized his dire condition and called for emergency assistance. Within hours, Aron was airlifted to a hospital, bringing an end to his 127-hour fight for survival. If you're gripped by Aron's incredible story of survival against all odds, make sure to subscribe to our channel. We bring you more tales of human endurance and the indomitable will to live that resides in all of us. Aron's rescue marked the beginning of a long road to recovery, both physically and emotionally. He underwent numerous surgeries and an intense rehabilitation process to adapt to life with one arm. But beyond the physical challenges, Aron had to come to terms with the psychological impact of his ordeal. In the months and years that followed, Aron's story captivated the world. He wrote a book about his experience, Between a Rock and a Hard Place, which became a bestseller and was later adapted into the acclaimed film 127 Hours. Aron became a sought-after motivational speaker, sharing the profound lessons he learned during those harrowing days in Blue John Canyon. Aron's experience fundamentally changed his outlook on life. He developed a deeper appreciation for the relationships in his life, recognizing how thoughts of his loved ones had given him the strength to survive. He became an advocate for outdoor safety, stressing the importance of leaving detailed trip plans and carrying appropriate emergency equipment. But perhaps the most profound change was in Aron's understanding of his own capacity for survival. He had faced death and made an unimaginable choice to live. This realization gave him a new perspective on the challenges of everyday life and a deep-seated belief in the power of the human spirit to overcome adversity. Aron's story resonated with people around the world, not just as a tale of physical endurance, but as a testament to the strength of the human will. It forced many to consider what they might do in a similar situation and inspired countless individuals to push beyond their perceived limitations. In the years since his ordeal, Aron has continued to pursue his passion for outdoor adventures, albeit with a newfound respect for the power of nature and the importance of proper preparation. He's climbed numerous peaks, completed adventure races, and even returned to Blue John Canyon to make peace with the place that nearly claimed his life. Aron's journey didn't end when he left that canyon in Utah. In many ways, it was just beginning. He got married, became a father, and continued to inspire others through his speaking engagements and advocacy work. His experience became a powerful reminder that life is precious and that the human spirit is capable of overcoming even the most dire circumstances. As we reflect on Aron Ralston'S extraordinary tale of survival, we're left with a profound appreciation for the resilience of the human spirit. His story shows us that even in our weakest moments, we possess an inner strength that can carry us through the most harrowing ordeals. It reminds us to cherish every moment, to never take our loved ones for granted, and to face our challenges with courage and determination. Aron's 127 hours trapped in Blue John Canyon stand as a testament to the power of hope, the strength of the human will, and the unbreakable bonds that connect us all. His story will continue to inspire generations to come, reminding us that no matter how dire the circumstances, there's always a reason to keep fighting, to keep hoping, and to keep living. If you've been moved by Aron's incredible journey of survival and self-discovery, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. We bring you more stories of human triumph over adversity, showcasing the extraordinary potential within each of us to overcome life's greatest challenges. In the end, Aron Ralston'S story is more than just a tale of survival. It's a powerful reminder of the preciousness of life, the importance of human connection, and the incredible reserves of strength we all possess. It challenges us to live each day to the fullest, to cherish our relationships, and to find the courage to face whatever obstacles life may put in our path. As we go about our daily lives, may we carry with us the lessons learned from Aron's ordeal. May we remember to tell our loved ones how much they mean to us, to leave no words unsaid, and to live each day as if it could be our last. For in the end, it's not the challenges we face that define us, but how we choose to face them. Aron Ralston'S journey from the depths of despair in that Utah canyon to the heights of inspiration he now occupies serves as a beacon of hope for us all. It reminds us that within each of us lies the power to overcome, to persevere, and to triumph, even in the face of seemingly insurmountable odds. As we delve deeper into Aron's story, it's important to reflect on the minute-by-minute struggle he endured during those harrowing days. Each passing hour brought new challenges, both physical and psychological, testing the very limits of human endurance. On the fourth night of his ordeal, as Aron drifted in and out of consciousness, he experienced what he later described as his darkest moment. The reality of his situation hit him with full force. He was alone, in unimaginable pain, and facing the very real possibility that he would die in this remote canyon. The weight of this realization was almost too much to bear. In these moments of despair, Aron's mind turned to his family. He thought of his parents, imagining their anguish when they realized he was missing. He pictured his sister, wondering if she somehow sensed that her brother was in trouble. These thoughts, painful as they were, also served as a lifeline. They reminded Aron of why he needed to survive, of the people waiting for him to come home. As dawn broke on the fifth day, Aron was jolted from his fitful sleep by a new sound, the buzz of flies attracted by his decomposing arm. The realization that his body was literally dying while he was still alive was a shocking and surreal experience. It forced Aron to confront his mortality in a way few people ever have to. Despite his dire situation, Aron's analytical mind continued to work. He spent hours trying to devise ways to free himself, each attempt more desperate than the last. He tried to chip away at the boulder with his multi-tool, but the rock was too hard and the tool too dull to make any significant progress. He attempted to rig a pulley system with his climbing rope, hoping to use mechanical advantage to lift the boulder, but the confined space made it impossible to set up effectively. As the fifth day wore on, Aron's hallucinations became more vivid and frequent. He saw friends and family members standing before him, heard their voices as clearly as if they were really there. In his more lucid moments, he knew these visions weren't real, but part of him clung to them as a source of comfort and companionship in his isolation. It was during one of these hallucinations that Aron had a vision that would ultimately save his life. He saw himself playing with a young boy, a child he somehow knew was his future son. This powerful image ignited a fierce determination in Aron. He realized that he wasn't just fighting for his own life, but for the future that was waiting for him if he could find a way to survive. This vision marked a turning point in Aron's ordeal. It gave him the strength to contemplate the unthinkable, amputating his own arm. As he weighed this drastic option, Aron thought about the life he wanted to live, the experiences he still wanted to have. He thought about the mountains he still wanted to climb, the rivers he wanted to raft, the family he hoped to have one day. The decision to amputate was not made lightly. Aron spent hours thinking through every possible alternative, every potential consequence. He knew that if he went through with it, his life would never be the same. But he also knew that if he didn't, he would certainly die in this canyon. As Aron steeled himself for what he was about to do, he thought about the countless adventures that had led him to this point. He remembered the exhilaration of standing on mountain peaks, the rush of skiing down pristine slopes, the peace he felt when surrounded by nature's beauty. These memories, rather than filling him with regret, fueled his determination to survive and experience those feelings again. The actual process of amputation was even more grueling than Aron had imagined. The pain was beyond anything he had ever experienced, and several times he had to stop, overwhelmed by the enormity of what he was doing. But each time, he forced himself to continue, driven by an unwavering will to live. After completing the amputation, Aron faced the daunting task of getting out of the canyon. Weak from blood loss, dehydration, and days without food, every movement was a monumental effort. The 8-mile hike back to his truck seemed an almost impossible distance. Yet, step by painful step, Aron made his way out of the canyon. Each small victory, rappelling down a cliff one-handed, navigating a difficult stretch of terrain, reinforced his will to survive. Even in his weakened state, the feeling of movement, of finally being free from the boulder, gave Aron a surge of hope and energy. When Aron finally encountered other hikers, the realization that he was going to survive hit him with overwhelming force. The emotions he had held at bay for days came flooding out. Relief, joy, pain, and an intense gratitude for life itself. In the years following his ordeal, Aron often reflected on those 127 hours in the canyon. He realized that while the experience had changed him profoundly, it had also revealed core truths about himself and about the human spirit. He had discovered reserves of strength he never knew he possessed, a will to live that could overcome even the most dire circumstances. Aron's story resonates with so many people because it speaks to universal themes of human resilience, the power of hope, and the strength we can find in our darkest moments. It reminds us that we are capable of far more than we often give ourselves credit for, that the human spirit has an almost limitless capacity to endure and overcome. Today, Aron continues to share his story, not just as a tale of survival, but as a testament to the preciousness of life and the importance of living it to the fullest. He encourages others to find their own strength, to face their challenges head-on, and to never give up hope, no matter how dire the circumstances may seem. Aron's journey from that Utah canyon to where he is today is a powerful reminder that our greatest challenges can also be our greatest teachers. His experience taught him, and continues to teach others, about the depth of human resilience, the power of love and connection, and the incredible strength that lies within each of us. As we conclude Aron's extraordinary story, we're left with a profound sense of the fragility and preciousness of life. We're reminded of the importance of telling our loved ones how much they mean to us, of living each day as if it could be our last, and of finding the courage to face whatever obstacles life may put in our path. Aron Ralston'S 127 hours in Blue John Canyon were undoubtedly the most challenging of his life, but they were also transformative. They revealed to him, and to all of us, the incredible capacity of the human spirit to endure, to hope, and to triumph against all odds. In sharing his story, Aron invites us all to reflect on our own lives, to consider what truly matters to us, and to find the strength to overcome our own challenges, whatever they may be. His journey serves as an inspiration, a call to live life fully and courageously, and a powerful testament to the indomitable nature of the human spirit. As we carry Aron's story with us, may we be inspired to face our own challenges with courage and determination. May we remember that even in our darkest moments, there is always hope. And may we live each day with gratitude, purpose, and a renewed appreciation for the precious gift of life. Yendi.